I'm Trish.
I'm Rebecca.
And I'm Carrie.
And this is the Kickbutt Talent Series.
Brought to you by the Sioux Film Festival.
Hi, I'm Trish. In this episode, Coach John F. Stevens delivers a workshop for the Sioux Film Festival on the art of acting. Enjoy. All right. Well, we have John here, who's fantastic, all the way from Toronto. John was one of the owners of Talent Inc., which has fostered many talents in Ontario and across Canada. But John actually just launched a new company, so this is like a perfect time to get to know John and all about the new company, and we're so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. So, and yay to you guys. I gotta say, I love these two for what they are doing for bringing more attention to the North. I am from a small town. I grew up in a town, a population less than 600. So trust me, I get it. I love small towns. I think the people are real. I think the stories are amazing, and the connection is palpable. I am one of the former owners of Talent Inc. Canada. And I really was proud of my time there, but now it's time to spread my wings and start taking a different direction. And I think like a lot of people during COVID, I decided it was time to kind of reevaluate, kind of see where I was at personally in my own personal career, but also to kind of see what was left in terms of leaving my own legacy. And so in doing that, I discovered that I really have a passion and an ability to make a difference by creating a message of inclusivity. And so I have two new companies that I'm actually kind of a part of. One is a not-for-profit, and it's called Act on Ability Foundation. And what that foundation does is it creates free workshops and acting classes for people with disabilities. And it also has a different branch of it, which is educating producers, directors, and writers about inclusivity of people with disabilities and doing it in a respectful manner and something that is reflective of the actual community. So we've kind of adopted the very common theme that nothing about us without us. So it's a very important message, we feel, and it's something that's really growing. And then I have my other part, which is I'm an internationally known acting coach. I'm very blessed. I've had the opportunity to work in the UK, Canada, the United States. And so I wanted to kind of use that as a way to help feed the not-for-profits. And so I created a new company called Act with Purpose. And I think that that kind of represents what I'm trying to do in my own life and what I'm trying to do with these companies. And so hopefully I can kind of share that message with you guys today. So what I'm gonna do is kind of tell you a little bit about my message today. When I was thinking about like, what do I wanna say when I come here? I was just thinking about like, we're all kind of coming out of or going back into, we don't know, depending on the day, out of our kind of COVID state of mind. And I think it's really important that we engage. And so that was the word that kind of kept coming back to me. It's time to re-engage. We have to start engaging with one another, engaging with one another's stories, and we start to have to start making this next step forward. Sorry, I talk so much and my mask keeps moving. But in any case, so today with Act with Purpose, it has kind of a dual meaning. Act with Purpose, of course, we're talking about having purpose behind your actions and knowing what those purposes are and being aware of those purposes and actions. And so we're gonna kind of do a little exercise using a little mini scene that I wrote for you guys today. And also kind of reevaluating Act with Purpose. When I'm going around and doing these workshops in different locations, I'm going to start, a portion of the proceeds are going to be going to the local community, to a not-for-profit or a charity in that local area. So Act with Purpose is not just making money and taking money in. We're really trying to build communities as we go around and teach. And I'm really fortunate, I'm old. I have a lot of students now, including Michael, who is here today. Hey, Michael. And they're all kind of coming back into the circle and are supporting me as we go through this. And it's really nice to see them embracing this kind of message as well. And so we'll kind of just go through this little mini scene, little mini workshop, and then we can open up to questions. Cool? All right. So first things first, of course, just like any acting class, what's the first thing that you have to do? You have to do a little warm-up. So I'm gonna embarrass you guys and have you guys do some really strange things. Aren't you excited? You're here. I see this, I start to see everyone kind of start to edge towards the door. So the first thing I want you guys to do is we have to remember, like we've gotten so used to having our masks on, and we've gotten a little lazy with our faces, and I've noticed even on Zoom, people aren't moving their faces. And this is what TV and film is all about. This is how we know what's happening on the inside, right? It's not just saying the words that are on the page. We have to emote and show what is happening on the page. We are actors, not reciters, right? And it's really important that we engage. So the first thing I'm gonna have you guys do is I want everyone to stand up if you're able. And what we're going to do is we're gonna count from 1 to 10, and I want you to use every single muscle in your entire face, all right? So I want you to scrunch up your forehead. I want you to wrinkle your nose. Everything that's not frozen by Botox, I want you to really try. We're not in LA. We're good here, we're real, all right? But scrunch up the forehead. I want you to move your cheeks around, and if I have your permission, I'm just gonna take this off for a quick second. Drop your jaw. Oh my gosh, so many actors, they go, oh yeah, John, I really want to be an actor. I just think it'd be really cool. I just think, all my friends think I should be an actor. And their mouth doesn't move, okay? It's really cute. You might be a ventriloquist one day, but you're not going to be an actor because it's not engaging. Here we go back with the word engage, right? So it has to be engaging. So we're gonna count from 1 to 10. I want you to feel silly. You should hate me for this, all right? So here we go. Ready? And 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you feel sexy? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Excellent. Oh my gosh, what a room full of unattractive people, and that's a compliment, all right? Awesome. All right, so go ahead and have a seat. Now that we've got that out of the way, we are now fully engaged with our faces. We are not just sitting here being lazy with our faces. I want to talk to you about finding intent. And I think it's really important. I think it's an important message, not only in our acting, in our script writing, but also in our lives. You have to find your intent. And I know for me personally, I feel like COVID in the strangest way has been a blessing. It has made me, it's forced me to look inward and to figure out what my intent is. Where am I going? What am I doing? What am I leaving behind? What is my legacy? And so for me, building Act with Purpose, I really thought about the name because I wanted it to be something that meant something. Not just something clever or cute or kitschy or whatever. I wanted it to have a real meaning. And I feel like that is coming out of me discovering that I need to have a real meaning in my life. I have to have a real direction in my own life. And so what I've done today is I created a little scene, a little mini monologue. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna teach you what I teach my students in my acting classes. I'm gonna teach you how to find the intent behind the line, all right? So a lot of times actors come to us, and if you wanna take a look at the little dad, and it can be for any age. We've all had to approach our parents about doing things that they shouldn't be doing, all right? It's not necessarily just for kids or anything like that, but I wrote this little mini scene, and you'll see afterwards, there's a little line where you can put the intention, and then I gave you a handy dandy list of action verbs, okay? So, action verbs. It's really important that we think about what we're doing to the other character, right? And I think the easiest way to kind of illustrate this is I'm gonna give you a little story. Story time with John, all right? So, what is an objective?
The goal of the character.
A goal, right? So very simple, it's a goal. What is a tactic? How you're going to achieve the goal. We hear tactic a lot like in military tactics and things like that. It's how you go about achieving your goal. I think that this is so powerful, not only for actors, but again, for people in real life to figure out what their goals are, but then also to start thinking about the tactics, the steps it takes to get there. And I think that's why I've had so many successful actors, is we focus on the steps it takes to get there, not just on the dream, right? You have to focus on the steps that are gonna get you to that place. So let's talk about an objective, okay? A little boy goes into a toy store, all right? And he says, Mom, I want that toy airplane. Mom says, no. Exactly, you have the same mom as I do. Okay, great. All right, so mom says no. Does the little boy give up? No. Absolutely not, you know this child. Okay, so the objective, the goal that the kid has is to get that toy airplane. Now, the little kid is gonna try new tactics and keep going. This is human nature. And I think the power in this is also not just learning about our own intentions, but it creates an opportunity for us to learn about our interactions with one another and how we manipulate and how we're being manipulated. It's a very powerful lesson, right? So, Mom, can I have that toy airplane? No. Little boy says, but Mom, all the other kids in the neighborhood have that toy airplane. Making mom feel bad. Guilty, right? Less than. Bad, yes, right? Because all the other parents can get it for their kids. How come you can't, right? It's that little, all right? Mom says no. Does the little boy give up? No, new tactic. But Mom, I'll wash the car, I'll feed the dog, I'll clean my room, I'll get all A's. Bargaining, to bargain, to bribe, right? To negotiate, all those things. Mom says, no. Does the little boy give up? No, of course not, all right? So then new tactic. Throws himself down on the ground, starts screaming, all that kind of stuff, tantrum. Mom walks away, all right? We all know this child, or we were this child at one point, okay? So mom doesn't fall for it, she simply walks away. Kid gets up, dusts himself off, all right? How am I gonna do this? New tactic, all right? Kid does not give up, new thing, all right? Mom, I've had a chance to think about everything, and you know what? I don't need that toy airplane. You do so much for me. I love you. Fine, here's a toy, right? Sometimes that works. Love can sometimes be used as guilt. Young people, everyone at home, all right? Right? So it's really important to understand how this is a competition. It applies to your real life. Remember that time you went in and asked for time off, and your boss is like, it's a really busy time, I'm sorry. And what do? Do you give up and go, oh, okay? No, you go, but remember I stayed after last year and I helped restock the shelves and I did this and I did that? It'd be really helpful. I'll do it again if you can do this, right? We do the same things as that little boy trying to get that toy airplane. It's all tactics, objectives, and that's what we're gonna kind of focus on really quickly here today, all right? So let's just read through this little mini monologue here, or half of a scene, one side of a scene. Dad, what did you do? Where's Grandma's purse? You went to the tracks again, didn't you? That's it. Grandma! No, she needs to know, Dad. You have a problem. I'm only 14 years old, and I should be focused on my schoolwork. I shouldn't have to be a parent to my parent. Now you have a choice. Are you going to tell Grandma you bet her money, her rent money on the tracks, or am I? Either way, we are taking you to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting tomorrow. Dad, you need help. Please, just do it for me, your son. I never asked for anything, but I'm asking for this, right here, right now. So, What are you going to do? Now I want you to take a look at that list of verbs, right? And I want you to think about what each of those lines is doing to the other character. Now here's the thing. So many times when I'm working with actors, what's the first thing new actors do when they're coming to come take classes? How do I cry? Everyone wants to know how to cry. I'm like, haven't we cried enough through COVID? Can we please move on from crying? So here's the thing. We are not emoters. We're actors. Action, actors, not emoters. We can't go out and act emotion. Emotion is the byproduct of actions. If I accidentally kick you, I feel bad. I didn't go, oh, I'm gonna go feel bad to you. It doesn't make sense. I sad you. I happy you. It doesn't make sense. We can't do that. It's actually physically impossible. So the emotion comes out of the actions. So if you want to feel emotions, you have to commit to the action first, right? So if we take a look at this, and we don't have to go through the entire thing, but Dad, what did you do? What do you think? What are we doing to Dad at that moment? Now, I'm going to tell you something. This list, I love it as an outline. But I tell you, I love a good phrase. Phrases are so much more powerful. They have more oomph, right? And that's the thing, when, as actors, when we're looking for our motivation or what our action that we're doing to another person is, we want to find the choice that has the most gas. Not the easy choice, right? So many actors are like, well, it's a question, so to ask. Asking is not a strong choice. I can ask for directions. I can ask for a divorce. Two very different things with varying levels of emotional and all kinds of different things attached to it, right? So to ask is very broad, right? To stop him in his tracks, that's what I'm doing, right? I love a good meaty phrase, right? To throw under the bus, to bait the trap, right? To light the fuse. I love a good, solid acting choice that is specific. Because we do specific things. We don't do general things. We do specific actions. So that's how I train my actors, is to make sure you're choosing a really good, meaty choice. So what are you doing here to Dad? To stop him in his tracks. Let's take a look at the next one. All right? Where is Grandma's purse? Now again, the beginner actor is going to ask. Right? But what's a stronger choice? To accuse. Absolutely. To demand. To hold accountable, to put on the spot, right? That's gonna have a much stronger kind of a choice, right? Excellent, you guys get it. You went to the tracks again, didn't you? Yes, oh, I love a good shamer, right? Yes, to shame. Absolutely, to make them feel guilty, right? And so many times people think about the way they're trying to make them feel and things of that nature, or the way they feel when they are saying the line. But again, you're going back to emotions, and emotions are the byproduct, right? So great, let's go on to the next one. To shame, fantastic. That's it. Grandma! Ooh, that's a brave kid. That would never happen in my family. All right, so what do you think?
He's calling down on the carpet.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, a good meaty phrase. Thank you. To call out on the carpet. Yeah. To force the situation, to force the conversation. Absolutely. Then, no. She needs to know, Dad. What do you think? To stand up for Grandma? Yes. What was that? To defend? Set a boundary? Absolutely. There you guys go. You have a problem. To call it out, right? To shine a light on it. Absolutely. All those kinds of things. Let's take a look at the next. I'm only blank years old, and I should be focused on my schoolwork. What are you doing to the other character? To guilt, yes. To criticize, absolutely. And people do not like that. Excellent. All right. But I think the guilt of like, I should be focused on my schoolwork and that sort of thing, like it's a pretty hefty thing. Awesome. I shouldn't have to be a parent to my parent. I think that's another shame. To humiliate, oh, good word.
Really driving home the last statement. So it's like I've said it, I've guilted you, and now I'm driving it home.
Yes, to support. And we do that, right? Like if we question, if we start asking question after question, it turns into interrogation, right? So the same thing, absolutely. Love it. Now you have a choice. Are you going to tell grandma you bet her rent money on the tracks? Or am I?
Force a decision.
Absolutely.
Putting him on the spot.
Putting him on the spot. To make an ultimatum, right? We're really making it happen. We're forcing this conversation along that clearly does not want to be had, right? Either way, we're taking you to a Gamblers Anonymous meeting tomorrow. Yes, to put their foot down, to start moving towards the future, to create a solution, a long-term solution. Because do you think this is the first time they've had this conversation? Clearly not. And we don't have the other side of the lines or anything. We just have our sides, right? This is it. But we can draw from it from the context, right? Dad, you need help. Please. What do you think?
I think there's an aspect of begging.
Yes, thank you. To beg, to plea.
To pull on his heartstrings.
Yes. Ooh, look who just showed up. Hello. I love it. Fantastic. All right. You should be an actress. So I'll take it under advisement. Just do it. For me, absolutely. Right? That's the, Mom, I love you moment there. And then, again, kind of driving it home, supporting the statement before, I've never asked for anything. But I'm asking for this. Right here, right now. Yeah, I like that, yes. And sometimes there's nothing else but something that kind of it shows you what you're trying to get across. Great, I love a good phrase. It works. It works. And the thing is, your intentions that you use are as individual as all of you in this room, right? That's why I love acting. It's not geometry. I would be terrible, all right? You have to find what works for you. And so when I give actors this list of action verbs, I don't tell them to, just use these. Find the words that mean something to you that you relate to. And a lot of them will go, oh, I don't know these words. Here's what you do. You circle the words you don't know in pencil, and then once a week, go through and learn 3 new words. And erase them, erase the circle, right? And keep developing your emotional range, your range of objectives and tactics, right? So this really does help, but again, this is just the first little tiny step. Phrases are incredible, and they do so much more to make the work, the writing, come to life. Now we aren't thinking about the line and trying to think about how we want to say it, because that's two-dimensional. It won't read on camera. It's not doing the writing justice. And I think anybody who's ever written something and then you've heard somebody else read it, you're like, well, right? It's because we haven't connected to the intention. So act with intention, act with purpose. So this is a nice little starter. And I hope you guys will kind of like take a look at this and continue to explore. And that's really where I wanted to kind of leave things with you guys today. Are there any questions? Do you want to open up to questions and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Awesome, okay.
Question, acting related, film related?
Yeah, and maybe it helps to know a little bit more about my background, so I'll kind of talk about myself because that's what actors do. So I started off, my grandfather was a part of Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. Very weird upbringing. I was constantly at what was called Circus World. It was in Florida many, many moons ago, and it was a theme park. And I grew up wanting to be a clown. My parents were very proud. So I learned unicycle and stilts and tightrope, and then later on in life I started to do trapeze and that sort of thing. And little did I know that that would be actually my first foot in the door into the world of acting. So at 7 years old, I was running around on a unicycle, and there was a commercial that came up, and they were looking for a kid that could ride a unicycle for a commercial. How many of those are there, you know? And so I booked it, and while I was on set, I fell in love. I said, this is what I want. This feels like home, and it feels natural to me. I like being on set. So I told my mom that, and she immediately enrolled me in acting classes, and I'm so thankful I happened to just fall into the right place at the right time. Found some wonderful acting coaches. I grew up in Seattle, so I found some wonderful acting coaches there. And then from there, I started performing. I was on my first national tour when I was 15. Went from Arizona all across the southern United States, and it was my first time coming to Toronto and performing. It was when I was 15 years old. And so I did that with a really neat company. It's not around anymore, Center Stage USA, but it was really neat. And that was my first kind of introduction to the Toronto market, and I had a blast here. Little did I know that my life would be kind of coming up towards the Canadian way. And then after I started doing that, I graduated high school early. I had a full scholarship to Marymount Manhattan College in New York. I double majored in dance and in theater. And then from there, I started performing on cruise ships and performed all around the Caribbean, had some amazing experiences. But then my passion was musical theater. So I went back to the Seattle market. I started working with Theater Under the Stars, a really incredible theater company. And that was where, it's kind of timely, I started working with Stephen Sondheim. And yeah, just so sad right now. The entire Broadway community is really just hurting. But I started working on an all-star cast of Follies, and I worked with Maxine Andrews of the Andrews Sisters, Denise Darcel, old French movie actress, Edie Adams, who is married to Ernie Kovacs. Incredible stories, kind of learning the history of television directly from her. I mean, I can't think of anybody better. And all kinds of other, Judy Kay was in the show, Karen Morrow, a bunch of other people. And that was my first kind of like Broadway debut. Continued to work with them. And then I was also cast randomly in Arizona. I did Annie, everyone's Joy. Usually people down there, oh gosh. But it was with Joanne Worley. From Laugh-In, and I grew up watching Laugh-In. So like for me, that was just a huge thing. And John Shuck from Macmillan and Wife. So he was Daddy Warbucks. After that, I started doing some directing and some choreography myself, and I directed and choreographed 3 off-Broadway shows before moving out of New York. I moved to Miami, or actually I did Peter Pan with Kathy Rigby first. And then I moved back to Seattle. I worked with Cheyenne Jackson in a couple of shows, Camelot and the West Coast premiere of Babes in Arms. And then after that, I decided to move to Miami, and that's when I started my coaching career by accident. I just needed something to do. I didn't know what my next step was. I saw an ad in the newspaper they were looking for an acting coach, and so I thought, well, let me see what this is about. Turns out I was pretty okay at it. And suddenly a lot of my students were being called to Los Angeles and were booking work. And so right now I've got a young lady who is on School of Rock, the TV series. And I've got a few people, Resident Evil that just is premiering now. I've got a young girl, Holly DeBarros is my student. And then I've got Victor Sawchuk is in Titans right now. And gosh, there's so many. There's a bunch of Hallmark movies, of course. It's that time of year, so those are all debuting and that sort of thing. But it's something that I fell into. I've always worked for other companies and for other people. And so this is actually my first event here at the Sioux, completely solo on my own. Yeah. So it's a new beginning. It's very exciting, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys. So anything that I can do to help you guys, please let me know. And I am going to be doing some Zoom classes. I am going to be making my way up here because I like working with people live and in person. So I am going to be coming up and doing some workshops and kind of getting to know and getting familiar with the faces here as well. And Michael and I are actually writing a film together. And the film that we're writing is kind of interesting. It has, as the lead character, a person with a disability, and she's very well known. Some of you might know Unstoppable Tracy Schmidt. She is an incredible voice and an incredible person. And what was interesting is actually just before COVID hit, I was kind of down. And what do you do when you're down? You go on social media, and you get even more down. But I started scrolling through Twitter, and I found this story of her, and she was talking about the rejection she felt as she was going through kindergarten and going to school for the very first time. And it just hit me. And so I started tweeting it, liking it, and I followed her and all that sort of thing. And every time something came up, I would retweet it. And then finally she reached out to me, and she was like, I think you might be my #1 fan. And I didn't know that she was local. So we started chatting a little bit. And then she's one of my best friends now. And so I started to really hear the message. And it moved me to make action. And it started to kind of awaken some of my other creative senses. And I knew that there was a story she's captivating as it is, but then to write a story around somebody who is already captivating, it's kind of silly that it hasn't been done yet, right? So we were talking earlier about finding people who have that story, who have that unique experience, something that is different about them, right? And so she is the main character in this film, and she's not a victim, she's not anything else. She is fighting, she is riding snowmobiles, she is doing all kinds of things that people don't necessarily think of when they think of a quadriplegic. And it's so perfect, and it's going to really, the Act with Purpose and Act on Ability Foundation are partly funding the film, and it's a really exciting trip. So that's me in a nutshell. Awesome. Any questions?
Can you teach us how to cry?
Right, that's all I got out of the whole thing. It's so funny that people want to learn how to do that. And the thing is we don't try to cry. Normally, when we start to feel that, we try to control it and hold it back. So it's actually physiologically impossible to just kind of try and force the cry. And so when I do teach people sense memory and kind of how to dive into that, I always start with meditation and relaxation, because you have to kind of start from a baseline. right? Before you can kind of make that climb, you have to kind of set up base camp. My acting coach was Eric Morris, I don't think his acting techniques would make it today. I'm gonna be honest. He was really hard on us, and he broke us down and did that whole thing. It's not something that's really tolerated anymore, but I have to tell you, at the time, so another kind of funny story is I was 13. I saw an ad in the newspaper that Eric Morris was coming to town and was gonna do a workshop. And at the time, $300 was like 1,000, right? And I was like, oof, that's steep. And my family is not from, we are white trash, okay? And I wear that badge proudly. But at the time, I thought, oh my gosh, how am I gonna raise this money and all that sort of thing? So I raised the money, I got it, and then I called him and I said, I wanna register. And he goes, you sound really young. How old are you? And I said, I'm 13. And he goes, oh no, I don't work with kids. I said, look, you're gonna work with me. He's like, no, I'm not. I don't work with kids. And I said, look, I will pay the $300. Let me come to the morning session on the first day, because it was over like 3 days. Let me come to the very first session. If at noon, by lunch, if you don't feel I'm right, if I'm a distraction, whatever it is, keep the money, I will go away. He was like, all right. So I took the class. I'm so glad I did. He is brilliant. He is hard. A lot of people kind of complained that he kind of borderlined on psychotherapy. But at the time, for me, I actually kind of appreciated that he was calling out people's blocks, right? And although somewhat controversial, I have to say everything that he said about people was actually true. Whether or not that we all wanted to hear it, nobody wants to be called out on their stuff, right? But when I was going around the room going, well, yeah, I can see it. And for me, it was a really big kind of turning point. But he talked a lot about sense memory, and he was a master of it. And he talked about, he started with a walnut, and he just got used to the texture, and he tried to memorize every single crevice, every single texture, every single point, every angle, visually touching it, the temperature of it, everything, really connecting to it, and then taking it away and trying to remember exactly how it felt and that sort of thing. So I do the same thing. I start with a lot of meditation, a lot of kind of centering and that sort of thing. And we also do, it's not necessarily counseling, but I also tell people, like, don't use anything that's raw. Like if your mom died last week, you're not gonna use that right now, to try and recreate something and cry in a scene. It's too raw and it's not controllable. And it's not fair to your scene partner if you are going off into kind of this space. So it is something I like talking about it, and I love training people to get to that. But that's a long process, and it's a deep process, and it's very personal too. You have to be willing to open up and talk about things that sometimes people aren't really willing to share. And an actor who isn't willing to share their true selves, it's tough. It's really tough. Sorry, you opened up a whole can of worms. I could talk on forever about that.
So there are a number of people who wear multiple hats and who are doing like some writing, some directing, and whatnot. What advice would you give them for dealing with actors? Some of them will be their first time directing and things like that.
I think, I think it's always valuable for directors and writers take an acting class, because then you're speaking the same language. Do you know how often I'll go into, like, casting directors? This is fascinating. Do you know how many casting directors have never taken an acting class? And now they're doing workshops. Right? It doesn't make sense. So I really am strict about which casting directors I work with and who I promote to do workshops and things like that, because I am telling you, there are some people that are garbage. They should not be teaching acting when they have never done it themselves. So that's my best advice, is if you're going to wear that hat, learn it, right? You learn the language. I am taking all kinds of, like right now with Michael and I writing, I'm taking screenwriting classes. I'm dying that I wasn't here earlier, right? You have to learn the language so that then you know how to relate to that person. I don't know anything about producing and that sort of thing. I'm trying to learn now so that when I am speaking to a producer, that I know what I'm saying and I don't sound like an idiot. And not only just for my vanity, so I don't sound like an idiot, but also to become more productive. In the end, that's what it's all about, is how do I become more productive? How do I get more out of my acting? How do I get more out of my writing? But I think if you're going to try and wear different hats, actually jump in, right? Invest in kind of finding out what that world is all about so that then you can speak the same language and really make it happen. That's my best advice. And also reading. Like there's so many good books. I just finished reading Screenplay. A staple, right? It's kind of a foundation for anybody who wants to write. And what was so neat is I found it really helped my acting. Didn't even expect that. That wasn't the goal in mind. And now, after reading that book many years ago, I find it's really helped me in my coaching. So like when people come to me and they're like, they want to have a coaching for a big audition and that sort of thing. I work with Chase Tang a lot. I'm his private coach. He was, what was his name on Jupiter's Legacy? I'm forgetting the name of his character. But anyway, I coached him for that role. And whenever we have a scene, he always appreciates, the first thing I do is I try to figure out what is the purpose of the scene. If you understand where that scene fits in within the overall scope of the movie, you're gonna have a better understanding of like what the purpose of that scene. If you know the purpose of that scene, then you know the purpose of that character talking to the other character, and it kind of funnels down from there, right? So reading, taking a class, and also, like again, engage. It's time to re-engage. That's the message. There are all kinds of professionals here. Ask the questions. Get to know them. Share your contact information. Start the conversation. Everything starts with a conversation, and it's interesting how many people are afraid to start the conversation, and I include myself in that. That has been a big learning process for me, is to not be afraid to say, hey, I'd like to do this. What do you think? Hey, I have this idea. Would you like to be a part of that? And you know what? I'm finding more and more that the more I start to ask, the more I get. It's incredible. So closed mouths don't get fed. It is so true. So start the conversation, engage, ask questions, and that's the most valuable thing that I think you can do. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Well, I've got some, if you want more information, it's on the sheet there. Feel free to reach out to me. I've got my phone number, my Instagram, which is everything these days now. So feel free to reach out. And also I've got some workshops that are gonna be coming up with, my kind of forte is introducing people to the LA market. And so I work a lot with not just kids, people of all ages. I think that my favorite story is this guy came to me, he's in his 70s, Jim, and Dr. Jim Garrow came to me, he's like, I wanna do acting, and he's got this big long ZZ Top beard and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, no, people were ageist. People discriminated based on his look and that sort of thing. And I said, yes, I absolutely want to work with you. Guess what? He's on C with Jason Momoa right now. He is like one of the most popular actors. He's booked nonstop. And so many people stuck their nose up at him and said, no, it's too late for you. It's too this. The people that are interesting, the people that are outside of that like scope, those are the ones that are booking and are interesting, right?
And sometimes it's so hard when you're starting out as an actor because some of the casting directors will say things like, no, you're too this, or you're not enough that, or you're too this, or you're not enough that, or people in your life. So you just really have to understand that acting acting is seeing interesting people and people reflective of real life on the screen. So I feel like anyone who shuts down, like actors are interesting. Anyone who shuts you down because of X, Y, or Z with how you look, screw them.
Yeah,
Moving on, don't need you.
absolutely.
No, there's room for everyone.
Yeah, like, I'm just thinking back on shows and movies I watch, and it's always the most, like, it's the people outside the norm, and we're not generic, it's something interesting. You mentioned Jason Momoa. He's an example too, because you look at him, it's like, well, I'm willing to cast this guy as like a criminal or a henchman or something.
Yeah.
He's not a typical kind of.
And he's like 7 feet tall. I'm sure if you look up stories, I'm sure he was told too tall to be an actor.
Danny DeVito. Another, I mean, Roseanne Barr. Like, not that we want to, but both had a huge wall to go up against in terms of cast type, right? And kind of getting past that Hollywood ideal and the Hollywood standard and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
I would say I've watched so many roles with between me and somebody else, and they'd be like, oh, well, he's more generic looking, so we're going to stick with that. But wanting to break out of that and going into something new where you can give people who you wouldn't expect a chance, who go forward in the industry as in, like, we've had this pattern for so many years. They're like, okay, we're going to have this because he's generic. He has this look, we want that. Rather than changing it up now as we go forward further in the industry and kind of take that step.
Exactly what we were talking about earlier when we were out in the hallway. Absolutely, we have to start breaking that mold where it's just predictable, right? I don't think anybody really enjoys sitting there and watching like, yep, this is gonna happen, and this is the person who's gonna get this, right? When we start to shake things up, that's what really starts to make the possibilities kind of, and it tantalizes the senses, right? There are so many instances where it's starting to change, but it is systemic, as with every major problem, right? It has to start with the writing, the producing, and the creation, so the pre-production, right? Then it also has to carry over to on set, and we have to start, so I'm really proud, Tracy, Unstoppable Tracy, is actually going to be doing these events where she's training actors without disabilities about the things you can ask, the things you can't ask, how you can be a real ally to people with disabilities. And so we've got a certification thing that's gonna be starting on AOA. Check out Act On Ability Foundation. It's really exciting what we're up to. Tracy is on the board, a bunch of other people that are just, the team just magically kind of came together. And what a beautiful thing to come out of COVID, right? It's really pretty spectacular.
Awesome. I would say to any of the burgeoning writers in the group, write your characters very specifically. No more hiring generic white guys. Sorry, unless your character plot-wise requires being a generic white guy. So think about the people you know in your daily life, think about the people you interact with in your daily life. They're way more interesting than the headshots that you're going to see. So go ahead and write characters who are that interesting and then demand that they get cast appropriately.
Yeah. That's like I know headshots are such a, common thing that we all do right away. When you want to start an acting career, you get a headshot. For me personally, I'd rather see, if you do have a demo reel or even like a still from some of the characters you've played, because I find sometimes headshots, it's like we go in, even for me personally, I go in, there's a makeup artist there, a hairstylist, you see your headshot and it's like, it's not really me, or it's kind of like sometimes they'll mask out the things about you that make you kind of quirky or interesting, and you're like, that's like a strange Android version of me. That's not me. So I feel like that with seeing my own headshot sometimes, or seeing other actors. I'm like, okay, so that's how they look in the headshot because it's very much that photographer's style, and that's how all the actors look when they get headshots done by that one person. I want to see something that shows, like, I don't want to see the makeup. I don't want to see the filters. I want to see what their face really does. So then I'll end up like sometimes we'll look up an actor on their Instagram and their IMDb. We go digging and find what
I
they
don't
can
like
do.
that hospital actually, and I
Yeah.
usually tell actors to do them.
Yeah.
Like when an actor comes in audition and pulls out a headshot, I'm like, I'm good. I have you on camera, I've met you in person.
Yeah.
Your
I need to
headshot.
see this.
I don't need your, I just need to know how I feel about you in the room when you're
Yeah.
performing, and how you look on screen on the demo later when I rewatch it. I don't need to have your headshot.
Yeah.
Digital age, I can literally speak around you and save it for later.
Exactly.
And actors spend so much money on headshots, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know we need to have them, but it's like sometimes you have to
Yeah.
find that.
But then you have some directors who are
Director
all
really
about the
captures
headshot.
you.
Some directors, all they can, like, for them, they need the headshot in order to remember who you were in the room.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, but they're often casting like, I need a 5'10" blonde and she has to have blue eyes, so like this one
no,
has
not
this thick
necessarily.
eyebrows.
I work with directors who are not like that, who like need the headshot to remember the person.
So that has a different process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the good thing is that it is starting to change, and people are starting to not put as much focus on that. And I think you're absolutely right. A reel or a little bit of a scene does so much more. So
If you don't have a reel, if you did like a really great scene just in your, like a self-tape in your,
Honestly, even having even having a good monologue
yeah.
in your reel, like as part of your reel, is also inspiring too.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, that person can literally have an arc in one moment, and that gives me range of what they can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just a scene, taped.
and that's something that I'm trying to actually pair up with a school that teaches more like directing and director of photography and that sort of thing, and getting those students to come to our acting school to collaborate. So rather than just film nonsense, why not use that great equipment and the skills that you're learning in school, come to our acting school, collaborate, and now we both have something to show.
For your reel. The
Yeah.
DOP has a scene for their reel, the actor has a scene for their reel, so it
It's-
helps everyone.
It helps everyone, and I think you're absolutely right. And so we were actually talking about this in the car ride up here, because it was a 7-hour car ride. What else are you gonna talk about? But future plans. So right? And so like that's one of the things that I really want to focus on with Act with Purpose is like get the acting, going, get people up to a certain level, and then bring in the film crew to start working on, and there's no reason why in one class we film one scene, another class we film another scene, put it together and make a short film, right? You can create and learn, right?
I was gonna say, you work a lot with colleges.
I do.
Would you be open to working with the Sioux College?
Yeah.
To submit this to the coordinator for the.
Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah, I definitely want to come back. I'm very interested in the North. The film that we are creating for Unstoppable Tracy, we have it slated to be shot in the North. The main backdrop is going to be Cochrane, Ontario, and probably a little bit of Timmins as well. There's no reason why certain things couldn't be shot here as well. So we really want to kind of spread the wealth and bring people in. The other thing that was done before everything kind of was discovered is there's a huge Indigenous part of the film as well. The person who is kind of the healer who comes in and really helps Unstoppable Tracy, her character, is an Indigenous character. And so we have a whole scene that is filmed in a big powwow, and we've got a tribe that we're working with up north, where we're gonna start doing some Zoom classes and training them, getting them prepared so that when we come up to film, it's not starting from scratch and that sort of thing. So it's funny, like people are like, oh, well, you're doing all these things for free. How are you gonna, everything happens out of these projects. And it's not about just going out and charging. It's about what you do that attracts people to come and want to work with you, right? So very interested in working with colleges and working with different tribes, different groups. There's a wonderful group in North Bay called Out Loud, and they do all kinds of LGBTQ work and 2S+. They are amazing. And so we already have it slated. We're gonna do a Zoom class where the kids are gonna have the opportunity to work on monologues that they write about their own life, their own experiences, and put it together, film it, and share it. So lots of great things that are happening. So stay tuned. Thank you for having me, and thank you both Rebecca and Trish for having me here. Really appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening. Follow us at Sioux Film Festival on the social medias.